Now, researchers are warning that a group of lethal cancers has been left behind by the rapid improvement in survival rates for many other forms of the disease over the past 50 years. They say that while 10-year survival rates across all cancers now stand at nearly 50% in England and Wales, double what they were in the 1970s, the treatment of some cancers has seen little progress. I'm joined now by Professor Michelle Coleman, the head of the Cancer Survival Group at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Professor Coleman, thank you very much for your time today. And I should just begin by saying that the research is based on a really substantial sample of 10 million records of cancer patients. So as for this left behind group of cancers, which are they?
Well, you summarized it quite neatly. The cancers for which survival has not improved very much, or not as much as one would wish, are those often described as cancers of unmet need. In this case, cancers of the pancreas, the esophagus, or the gullet, if you will, and the stomach. And those cancers have stubbornly resisted improvements in survival that, as you mentioned, Anita, have been seen for many other cancers. But, you know, I think the really important message to come out of this study is that we've been able to summarize the experience of over 10 million cancer patients using data from the National Cancer Registries in England and Wales, and to produce a one-number summary that summarizes all of the different trends in survival for the different cancers, including their variations by age and sex, and as well as over time. And whilst there have been really remarkable improvements in survival, in that survival index over the first 40 years, the improvement has slowed down substantially in the last 10 to 15 years. And that, I think, is the problem.
Why, Professor, sorry for interrupting, but I'm just wanting to find out why there is this difference, this disparity. Is it that those cancers you mention are not getting the same level of investment into research?
I think that is likely to be part of it, because whilst research is going on into the management of all of the cancers I've mentioned, the ones of very low levels of survival, they are very difficult cancers to treat. Cancers of the pancreas, the stomach, the esophagus very often have spread quite a lot to other nearby organs by the time that they are diagnosed. And at that point, it is extremely difficult to treat them with anything approaching curative intent. And palliation is, whether that be from surgery or drugs or radiotherapy, may be all that can be attempted. And I think the pressure should be driven by research into how the diagnosis as well as the treatment of those cancers could be improved so that they're diagnosed at an earlier stage when more effective treatment is available.
Yes, that was exactly the point I was about to come on to. It does emphasize, doesn't it? You know, we're talking mainly about the research end and the treatment end of it, but it's that early diagnosis then, if they are particularly difficult to treat or sufficient treatments haven't been developed yet, it's particularly important that people do go and see their doctors if they have any symptoms they're concerned about.
Absolutely right. But I want to bring you back to the broader point, if you will, that this research addresses, namely that it's an index of progress in how the NHS, or how effective the NHS is at managing all cancers combined. And this is a message for government. The government has announced the plan to introduce a long-term strategy for cancer control. We're expecting this later this year, and I think that the new strategy does need to take account of the problems in improving survival, not only for those difficult to treat cancers, but for the others where also progress could usefully be made.
Yes, so we know, as you say, that the government is looking at a long-term strategy for the NHS. We talk a lot about waiting times for treatment. We talk a lot about staffing and so on. In terms of the cancers where progress has been made, can that progress continue to grow if those fundamental issues aren't tackled? We've only got time for a very brief answer. One sentence, if you would.
The short answer is yes. Survival here for many of those cancers is not as high as in comparably wealthy countries elsewhere in Europe.
OK, Professor Michelle Coleman, thank you very much for joining us from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine.